Everybody see that? This is the Andalusia that happened from 711 to 1031. It's quite the difference, right? All of the other regions are missing. It is just a gigantic Islamic empire at this point. What do you think happened between 1031 and 1492? What do you think the trajectory? What do you think happened here? Why did Andalusia end up so small? What's that? Well, crusades is the loose word we use all the time. Spain really did crusades. Crusades like we know them, going across Europe looking for the Holy Grail. But yeah, there was a sense of conquest, right? It's a reconquest. We put, literally, the Spaniards pushed people down. Do you hear what I just said? We. I just said we. See, that's why people need to work at this. I shouldn't say this. But as you go down, all of these lands that are from the northern part of Spain, where it says Aragon, all the way down to Andalusia, they were pushed out by war. Now, next slide, please. Let's talk about the contact that was actually made. And I'm going to throw a word at you that's very important. Okay, please. Convivencia. What does this mean? What linguistically speaking, what does it mean? Convivencia. Yeah. That's right, exactly. Living together. The translation, the literal translation is coexistence. With the contact of the Arab people, Spain was fortunate enough to take advantage of three religions coexisting together in relative harmony. Those are the Jews, the Arabs, and the Christians. Next slide. When the Arabs came, it should be noted that they were more civilized, I should say. They were more advanced. They had a very profound understanding of science, astrology. They knew the world better, when scientifically speaking. And they also, this is very important in relationship to Christianity, they had a very profound understanding of Aristotle. And Aristotle is an important point in understanding theology and how the Christian world would bring up a defense later on at the end of the 16th century. When they're trying to define themselves, they would use this information of Aristotle to back up their belief system. And I think it's interesting and very ironic that the Arabs would bring this knowledge over to the Western world, and Christians would try to use the very thing perhaps against them at some points. Next, please. Arabic, as we said, is the main language, and Islamic rule at this time made a very interesting society. It was stable for a very long time, but there were Christians. Now, like I said, the Visigoths existed in Spain before the Arabs got there. The Visigoths, they were Christian. They weren't Catholic. They were Arab Muslim. And what happens is that the Islamic leaders, they give names. They put names on these people. And I have a few here. Mozárabes and Muladíes. A Mozárabe is a name given to the population, Hispanic Gothic, after the Arab invasion of 711, that did not convert to Islam. They did not have to convert to Islam. They conserved their own language, their own laws, and their own religion, instead of paying tribute to the state. The next one there, The next one there is Muladíes. The Muladíes were actually converted Hispanics. I use the term Hispanic to recognize anybody who's Spanish. That's a very difficult word to define. After converting to Islam, in order that they not have to pay any type of tax to the people, but they could also conserve their own religion. So it's a very fine line. Later on, the Mudéjares and Moriscos, they would be the contrary of the Christian people. They would be the Arabs that would suffer under Christian rule. Right? Mudéjar is a name that Muslims would receive as they lived under the dominion or the power of the Christian, but they could conserve their religion. The Moriscos, which is a very pejorative word, was a name given to the Muslim people who were obligated to convert, if they were forced to convert. Morisco. And if anyone knows Spanish, you can see that there's a word that's just like that, and it means shellfish. Anyone? Mariscos, yeah, mariscos. There's always that play on words. Very interesting. Okay, the next slide. All right, here we have a really interesting thing. Like I mentioned before, Dr. Manning also, there was contact. And with contact, there was linguistic change. Let's look at some of these words here. Students should recognize the Spanish on the left, and the Arabic in the middle, and the English on the right. Can everybody see the English? Yeah. So the left, what does all the words on the left have in common? They look very similar in a way. What's the predominant, I mean, not all of them, but what about the predominant letter? It's an A, right? It's an A. And look at the foods in Arabic. What do they have? An A. What do you think that's all about? What do you think an A represents in Arabic? Yeah, it's a definite article. I think I just heard somebody say that. Did I hear somebody say that? It's a definite article, right? So that's why a lot of these words that we have in Spanish start with the letter A. And it's a very important thing to understand. Next slide, please. Okay, and also a number of different phrases we have. Hasta mañana. We all know that one. I say it all the time, hasta mañana. There you have the word hasta, and then there's the Arabic word ata. Ata. We all know the phrase, mi casa es su casa. Probably don't need the English translation there on the side. It says it. But that also comes from an Arabic phrase, I can't say it, al-bayt baytak. And then ojalá, what does that give after the subordinate clause? Very good. And then the last word I have there is the word fulano. And a fulano is a word you get from Arabic, fulano. Really interesting, a so-and-so. That's the translation. So-and-so. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the Arabic influence on Spanish literature. All of these works here, Spanish literature is varied, and it extends everywhere in the world. It's not just Spanish from Spain. Every country, this is a very interesting thing among my students, that Spanish literature comes in all different forms all across the world. And here I just have some examples of works from the main peninsula. Don Quixote de la Mancha, El Lazarillo de Tormes, El Conde Lucanor, I don't know if you can see that, and El Cid. El Cid. These works, you may have heard of these works. You may have heard of these books. Do you know what they have in common, other than being influenced by Arabic and being in Spanish? What's that? They're what, Lou? No, say it, speak. No, they're not fairy tales. They're canonical. They come from the greatest works of Spanish literature right here. These works before you, if you go to a class, a Spanish class, and you tell your professor that you've read Don Quixote, he's going to be surprised, he's going to be happy. El Lazarillo de Tormes is a book that I assigned for summer reading. I have an English version, if you read it. Conde Lucanor is a medieval work that's part of the canon. And El Cid is a great epic poem. A great epic poem that was passed down in oral tradition and influenced, at least in context, from the Arab world. Next slide, please. Okay.